Now, firefighters in the Gironde area of southwest France are battling to contain two forest fires that have burned through about 11,000 hectares of land since Tuesday. Now, more than 14,000 people, including locals and visitors, have had to leave their campsites due to the wildfires. To accommodate evacuees, 7 emergency shelters have been established. Now, on Sunday, France put 37 departments on orange high alert, mostly along its Atlantic coast. Due to frequent rockfalls brought by climate circumstances and drought, authorities in the French Alps advised climbers headed for Mont Blanc, Europe's highest mountain, to delay their journey.
On a un fourgon en bout qui a commencé à traiter une saute et on va voir l'arrivée des secours là normalement pour éviter que le feu ne passe de l'autre côté de la route. Ça veut dire que c'est pas gagné, il faut qu'on ait des moyens disponibles à proximité. Voilà, ils vont arriver peut-être de plus loin. On voit qu'il y a une unité qui est arrivée, qui va commencer sûrement à établir, mais on voit aussi que le feu a pris beaucoup d'importance puisqu'il y a fort potentiel calorifique avec, on le voit, de la végétation basse et de la végétation haute et le feu est en train de prendre de la hauteur, ce qui fait qu'il est virulent et on voit aussi les fumées qui sont assez dynamiques et bien noires.
We're still talking about the heat wave, and joining me on the news now is environmentalist Paul Abolo from Abuja. For more information on this development, thank you so much for joining me, Paul.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, Paul, we see that the heat wave affecting much of Western Europe and the United Kingdom began in mid-July 2022, and the high temperatures have caused hundreds of deaths across France, as well as Spain and Portugal. Now, isn't it time for the world to take the issue of climate change a little more seriously? Are you there?
Absolutely. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Paul.
Great. So what we are seeing is the response to climate change, or we call it climate change. The major cause of climate with global warming comes, we're seeing with intense heat, and with the heat comes the fires. Let me break this down a little bit. The reality is that the world has entered a cycle where the additional energy that is trapped in the atmosphere is beginning to be distributed unevenly and is causing extremes like what we are seeing. So in this warming cycle, we observed during the California wildfires by the scientists that there is a shift that is preventing even the rain areas that are prone to wildfires. Now, in the south, like you described, you see high temperatures in the range of 45 degrees in some part of France, 42 degrees centigrade. At said over 10 of land has been, people have been hit alone. If you go to the Mediterranean, Morocco is currently experiencing severe heat and the vegetation is dry. So what does that say for Africa? For Africa, it means that if it comes to Africa at this level, it's going to be very difficult to contain it because Africa and developing countries have less capacity to deal with it. So this comes with droughts, comes with displacement, comes with economic consequences. And of course, there are huge humanitarian challenges associated with this.
Okay, so let's talk about the government intervention now. Aside that, in the issue of climate change, what else can individuals do on their own to avert these natural disasters like the heat wave that is currently causing havoc in Europe?
Beautiful. What is happening right now is, like I said earlier, is that the environment is reacting to overuse. The environment is reacting to the approaches that we've done as humans. So the first thing we need to do as humans, we need to be responsible in our consumption. I know there's a lot of money that is being spent to control the fires, agreed, but at the same time, we need to spend a lot of money in controlling the drivers of the fire. Now we need to do a lot of awareness and we do a lot of sensitization. Then we need to get people to get involved at the level of participation. Then we can have the transformation that we are looking for. So we need to work together to slow down. We need to work together to eventually stop the greenhouse gas emissions that is warming up the climate. And this is exactly why we are having these reactions from the environment. So as individuals, we need to be very careful on how we use fossil fuels. We need to move as quickly as possible to renewables. It's very important. Then we also need to be very careful about how we bastardize the environment, especially the trees and the vegetations, so that we can have a cooler atmosphere, a cooler environment where even when the temperatures are high as it is now, it will not result to wildfires.
Right. Paul, thank you. I think two things you said that I would really like to reiterate is the fact that we have to be careful about how we consume things and how we bastardize the environment, as well as we have to do a lot more awareness for people. Thank you so much for that. Now, Paul, I would also like to ask now, the French Weather Service has forecast temperatures of up to 41 degrees Celsius in the country's south as of Monday, which is today. Now, while in Portugal, the temperature recently reached 47 degrees Celsius. How bad can this be if this forecast continues along this same line?
Now, climate change impacts, like we are seeing now, is the greatest threat to the existence of mankind. So it could go as bad as you can imagine. But the good news is that once we start now, it's never too late. You can imagine a temperature of 1.1 degrees centigrade from industrial age to now. And you can imagine what will happen if we have another 1 degree centigrade added to what we are now. It's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to get to a tipping point, and we pray that it doesn't get to a tipping point at this point, but it can go as bad as you can think. What we are seeing with wildfires, we are seeing with flooding as well. We are seeing with drought. We are seeing with people being displaced and everything. So it's going to be as worse than the pandemic if nothing is done. But like I said, the good thing is that we know what to do. But the problem is that we need to engage at scale so that everybody will put their hands on the deck to control the use of fossil fuels.
Right. Right. Very well said, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you so much for having me.